We all love being right. That feeling of self-righteousness, that I got you feeling, I won. And at the other side of that, there's someone else. There's the person who didn't win. And they're probably not the biggest fan of you right now. And they're probably not particularly happy that you won. And this video is about that. It's about the urge to be right and its costs and consequences and other options that might serve us better. My name's Matthew, and my goal is to spark you to think differently so you can create new possibilities for yourself. I think this whole being right thing comes down to a quote that I heard a long time ago. Do I want to be right or do I want to be happy? And I think this quote misses the point a little bit. I would say the quote might be better off being, would I rather be right or would I rather connected quality relationships? Because when I'm being right, I'm giving up something to get that. I'm giving up connection, I'm giving up the quality of a relationship with someone. If I think about how much of my life I spent trying to be right or trying to win a conversation or an argument, and if I look back and I go, was it worth it? Was it worth all that time and effort and pain and suffering that I've created for myself and others to be right? Yeah, I get a little ego boost at the time and I feel a little sense of achievement and oh, I've won, and I might go and tell someone else how I've just won this argument and how I'm awesome. But on a real level, I don't think it matters at all. Whenever I play this being right game, I'm not considering the other person because I'm leaving them normally, if I win, as deflated and angry and frustrated. And if I lose, I'm feeling deflated, angry and frustrated. And even if I win, it's a false sense of accomplishment. And I feel a bit hollow inside, if I'm being honest. And it's a lose-lose game. There is no real winner when it comes to the being right game. Why do we have such a drive to be right? Well, I don't think it's one particular thing. I think that it is a combination of things. But the biggest one of those is this underlying belief that's deep down, that's not spoken much, which is that the way I see the world, my perspective, my opinion on things is the best, it's the truest, and it's the one that everyone else should adopt. And when people don't adopt my view and they decide to go off on their own path and their path or their view or their opinion contradicts with mine, we get conflict. Most of the time what it's about is me wanting to assert my worldview over theirs. I want them to agree with me, I want them to adopt the way I see things, and I want them to say, you know what, you were right the whole time, your way of seeing the world is clearly much superior to mine. And I think if you look closely, you'll find that most of the being right arguments you get into are around that too, wanting someone else to acknowledge your opinion, your perspective, your view as the best, the truest, and the one we should all have. But is that really what you want? Take a moment and consider, what is the cost of you pushing your viewpoints on other people? I know I don't like when other people try and push their viewpoints onto me, and I'm sure they don't like when I do it to them. So what are the costs? For me, they are people feeling heard, people feeling respected, people feeling like they matter. I want to feel like I matter. You want to feel like you matter. So let's treat other people with that same respect and that same courtesy of not trying to force our worldviews on them, even though I think that ours are better, obviously. Even while I'm saying this, I still have this little voice in my head that goes, you know what, your opinions are better and everyone should agree with you. And I'm like, yes, I agree. And then I take a step back and I go, is that really what I want? Is that really what I want? And then I have to face the facts that it isn't. So if you're anything like me, you don't want to be part of this game. You want another option. But how do you do that? There's another quote I love, which is, it takes two to start a war. And that really speaks to, I think, the most fundamental way of stopping this cycle of being right and trying to force my views on others. And that is to just stop it. So what do I mean by stop it? What I mean is noticing when it's coming up, when I'm starting to feel that sense of, oh, I need to fight back, I need to defend this position, I need to prove that I know better here. and choose a different path. Choose to say, maybe we can both be right here. The best way to stop yourself from getting involved in the fights is to build up self-awareness that will catch you just as you're starting that same pattern. And the first few times you practice, maybe you won't notice for a week, and then you might get it down to a day, and then suddenly you'll be starting to fire up that fighting self-righteousness thing, and then you'll catch yourself and you'll go, this is me and I'm doing this thing again. And maybe you might even laugh to yourself or smile to yourself in that moment that you realize that you're starting to continue down this path that you don't want. The best thing you can do in that moment, if you have that awareness, is a technique that I've used a lot, which is basically the pause button, which is just going, mentally I need to pause for a second, not saying anything, just take a breath, hit the pause button, then I can consider what my next best option is. The next thing you need to do after hitting the pause button is really check in on your listening. Have you actually been listening to the other person, or have you been hearing some words and then making up a story around what they've said that doesn't actually link to what they've said? And I've got a video about listening that you can click if you're interested in more about listening. If you think you've been listening, try paraphrase. Try saying, this is what I thought you said, is that on the right track, or is that correct? And a lot of times what I find when I do the paraphrase is that I'm actually completely off, or I do hear it correctly and it turns out we don't have anything to disagree about because we both want the same thing and we're both aligned on the outcome, we just have different ways of getting there. So try paraphrase, very, 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 very useful. The next thing is to assume good intent. Assume that they want a good outcome as well. And this is where you can start to do something like clarify what you're both wanting. Because what I often find is when you clarify what you're both wanting and you assume good intent, you find that you're both wanting a very similar, if not exactly the same outcome, but you have different ideas of the best way of getting to that outcome. And then I can ask myself the obvious question, which is, am I willing to let go of my particular way of getting to the outcome and just agree that we both want the same outcome and work together on that? And if we can get to that point, 99% of the time for me, I'm able to be okay with that because I ultimately want the outcome and I'm not too attached to the way of getting there. And if I am particularly attached to a way of getting to an outcome, I can say this way of getting to this outcome is important to me for these reasons. And what I'm wanting to ask is, would you be able to adapt the way you're proposing to get to the outcome to meet the needs of what I care about as well? So how can we work through this together? And ultimately, the question becomes, am I able to let go of being right in this small context and focus on the bigger picture, on the outcome? What do we both want? What are our shared vision? Why are we even having this conversation? Because we can both be right if it's about the outcome. So can you be the one not to start the conflict, not to put fuel on the fire, and focus on the bigger picture, on the bigger outcome? It can be a lonely place looking at the big picture, but I really think it's worth it. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and until next time, the journey continues.